Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, we're in the 50s. That's pretty nice. Well, yeah, 49, 51, 52. We got sunshine, we got no wind, and so this is a pretty pleasant break from working my cases and thinking about what's going on in the world. In the category of thinking about what's going on in the world, there's action in Georgia today, and that's the grand jury headed up by Fannie Willis, the local prosecutor for Fulton County, looking into Trump's conversations and efforts in Georgia basically to steal votes from Biden and transfer them illogically, unwarrantedly, fraudulently from Biden to himself, plus one vote, so that he would have as many votes as Biden had in the lead, plus one. And there's been a grand jury investigation of this. And the thing about this grand jury investigation is they chose a grand jury that can't indict and can only issue reports. Now, the notion of a grand jury is its anonymity protects the people who may be subject to investigation who are not found to have done anything wrong. And the flip side of that is because it's concealed, the government may, if it abuses the process, do something that is prejudicial to the individual defendants or potential defendants. But I think it's absolutely wrong to presume that a report should be issued publicly from a grand jury about the findings of the grand jury. The findings of the grand jury, when you have a runaway grand jury, is to contradict what's being concealed. That is, somebody is suppressing a set of facts that violate a set of laws that the public should know about and that the prosecutor is not going to bring. And then the grand jury goes off on its own and creates a report. But here's the thing that's really troubling to me. This grand jury, this report, was written by the prosecutor. I mean, if somebody can tell me otherwise, that'd be fine. But the grand jury does not write the report. The counsel to the grand jury, which is the prosecutor, the DA in this case, or the DA's staff, they write the report. And in that report, this grand jury said it should be made public. Now, what do I think should happen? Well, sometimes we have a grand jury investigate, and we let all sorts of evidence go before the grand jury, including that people took the fifth or whatever. And so we don't want a jury that has heard somebody invoke their right to remain silent. They don't want that to be considered because a person has a right to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to cooperate, and to have that used against them. And so then what do? Well, you have a second grand jury, and you present to that grand jury evidence that will not prejudice the grand jury when it's considering an indictment. And keep in mind that when the second grand jury considers indictment, it's considering it based on a document presented to it by the prosecutor, and then the grand jury, 23 people, loyal and true, usually just agree. In fact, it's almost a joke when they say it's a rubber stamp. After the first couple of days of a grand jury that hears all sorts of offenses, they just, one after the other, you just vote for them. Now, is that wrong? Well, it is a fiction, and there have been writings about how the grand jury is really used to the advantage of the government and not to the accused. So why am I going through this? Because I don't want us to give an issue that should not exist to Trump. Do I care about the others? Sure. But I care particularly that we get this right. And after 2 years of nonsense, I can't believe what the argument's about is whether the report should be made public. The report should not be made public, and I assume it's the prosecutor who put it in the report that it should be made public. It's insane. So, as I understand it, the judge is considering whether he makes it public or not. And right now I think he's leaning not to. And the prosecutor has taken on a separate identity, if I have their process correct, in which she facilitated a report that the grand jury said they wanted public, and she's saying it shouldn't be made public. So I think she's probably second-guessing herself, because people like me have said, what are you doing? And some of us may think that the grand jury was called into existence just to make us think something was happening, when, in fact, nothing was happening. And nothing has happened yet. Instead of the report, what they should have done is collected that testimony that bears on the charges they might make, and that can include hearsay, present that to the grand jury, ask for a true bill, meaning that the grand jury votes to indict, and issue that. Straightforward, simple, correct, legal, and not subject to challenge on some constitutional ground that you issued a report to bestir the community to be prejudiced. We don't need that. For one thing, everybody knows what happened. And so why compromise it by giving an issue to a defense team? And I do know the lead counsel, and he's an outstanding lawyer, and he will find ways to challenge this in and out of court. He's a very good lawyer, Drew Findling. So if they're going to do this, they should protect the prosecution by having it abide by the constitutional restrictions. Now, what other news is there? Well, now Pence has got documents at his home. It may be clear that our so-called public servants aren't paying attention to the law, and they all should pay for it. Pence included. Coming forward, yeah, maybe that goes to sentencing. Is there a fine? Is there custody? Is there that kind of thing? We can't have these examples if we really care about security. Are we going to be lax in this area until something horrendous happens and then say, oh, it's really too bad, we should have done something about it? Yeah, perhaps. What is it? There's a situation where people are commenting on this second shooting, and we're hearing thoughts and prayers and grief and so forth. Nobody's doing anything. I stand by what I said yesterday when I couldn't get out, and I think that America is bankrupt, fails to have standards that mattered, fails to have standards in a hierarchy that matters, and I think that life and the safety and security of people, isn't that number one? And the Republicans talk about law and order, but they're not for this. They are actually for more guns, infinite numbers of guns. Now, does that sound like we're building a place that's safe and secure? No, but that's what we're doing. We don't do anything else. I think it's interesting, the South Dakota governor, was her name Nome, she wants to charge women for using abortion pills. Now, doesn't that take it to the end? That is, the conception occurred, let's assume that, or it's unknown, which is probably true, and someone takes an abortion pill during the period of time after they've had intimate relations, and so therefore they can't get pregnant because of that period of intimate relations. I don't have any problem with that. Family planning, don't we need it? I think so. The final remark I have is that there's a congressman out of Arizona, Gallego, I think it is, who's going to challenge Sinema for the U.S. Senate seat that she now has. And I suppose what that's going to mean is a split in those who might support a Democrat with the independent candidacy of Sinema, meaning increases the chances a Republican will get that seat. What could you do about it? You have to win. You have to cancel her out. I mean, in terms of how you compete and how you build an election, and I don't know him, but we'll find out. So it's gorgeous today, and we have mixed results. and my office is mostly moved. Only pictures remain to be put up. And my cases are active and interesting, and we just got a couple of breaks in one that I'm excited about. So it's been good here, and I hope you're doing well where you are. And maybe we should set a date when everybody joins us in April. Come by bus, and we'll walk among the cathedral of trees that I call home when I walk. Take care. Bye-bye.